The worst thing for me was the idea of just standing in front of all the people that I've kind of convinced to move here from all over the world, and stand in front of them and say, sorry guys, this won't happen. The shame and the fear of doing that, not kind of losing the company or losing money, but the failure in front of them, that gave me a lot of sleepless nights. Some of the key features that have brought us here is obviously a very, very strong mission, a willingness among everybody in the company to make an impact. Be part of this transformation through delivering energy storage and batteries. The other piece is that sense of urgency. Then there's a whole bunch of other things, but if it comes down to the core, I think this is the most important. Coming to Skellefteå always, and looking at the site, always make me very humble. The sheer size of the factory, but also the fact that it's a hugely complex manufacturing process. I always think to myself, how do we really start this thing?
The road we're driving on now will soon be history. It will be moved to the left.
We were looking for a 200-hectare site that we wanted to build in tranches. So we wanted to build the first factory on a 50-hectare land and then expand that onwards.
Phase 1 is slightly less than 50 hectares, and this plot is around 65. It's bigger.
Skellefteå really was a site with a very low complexity in terms of the permitting process, but also in terms of all the land and energy and water requirements that we had. But really, I want to stress the mindset of the municipality, which really matched our boldness and our passion in there, resulted in the fact that when we came out with our request, they were really able to just speed up and deliver upon what we needed, and were super proactive in the way that we need all our partners to be.
When I came here, we were doing foundations, steel structure, just started with the roof. Now we're in a phase where it's full speed of process installations, steel installations, piping, electrical pieces going in every day.
The location on the Baltic Sea is ideal, both for project and also product logistics. Having a nearby port is really pivotal to logistics success. So the first process equipment arrived sometime around Q3 2020. We loaded a large number of tanks, crystallizers and other items in Antwerp, and that arrived to the port of Skellefteå on a Wallenius Sol vessel.
So take a look at the width of the container. That's 20 to 40 foot.
This is like Christmas for logistics.
The largest item was approximately 20 meters and 7 meters in diameter. 7 meters doesn't sound like a lot, but if you see that on the back of a truck on a road, then that is something.
I will never forget the day we brought it in, because we had a struggle. The first plan was to open the roof, because we weren't able to to bring it in and install it from the inside. With a lot of planning, together with a contractor, with only a couple of centimeters extra, they could bring it into the steel structure. While the crystallizer was hanging, they installed the steel. It was really satisfying. When walking into upstream now, it's truly impressive to see all the pieces, thousands of process equipment pieces gone in, and you really get the feeling of the size of it. Upstream includes all the process steps needed to prepare the active material, the powder, for downstream.
So this is the beginning of DS1, downstream 1. And downstream 1 is actually where the cell is being manufactured. It's such a massive endeavor since we are managing all the different suppliers and the contractors ourselves. We have no one in between. And it's in total, when it's the most high intensity, it's about, let's say, roughly 500 persons in DS1.
It is a challenge when you are basically designing the rails just in front of the train. We are finalizing designs and doing last-minute changes to optimize different parts of the process just before we need to go into install or we need to do some type of construction. This is challenging for us, but it's also challenging for all the partners who are involved.
This is actually a really good feeling. If you remember from the days in labs, and then to scale this up in Skellefteå here in DS1, it is, how should I say, something else. It's so much bigger. It's so much more complicated, but it's also so much more cool. This is not about building a factory. For me, it's more like building a team that will make this factory happen. It's so easy to be impressed of all the installations, the battery machines, the clean rooms. I agree with that, but I'm far more impressed of what the team has done.
In simple terms, if we want to explain the footprint coming out of Northvolt Ett, it's that first and foremost we have put the entire factory on hydro-powered and wind-powered grid. What we've also done is that we have added the entire material production under that roof. So we have all the way from material coming in, so metals coming directly from the mining, all the way through to a charged cell we have under completely renewable energy. So that footprint is basically zero. If we compare then to a competitor's factory, that full footprint is high on the factory as such, on the material production as such, but also on the logistics between those, because you have to move the material in several steps. But on top of that, we are also working first on recycling that will bring down further the footprint by 2030, and also working together with our suppliers to support them in bringing down their footprint. As soon as we manage to close this loop for the customers, and as soon as this hockey stick market is reaching some kind of steady state, this will be close to a one-to-one. One sell in, one sell out in the market. And that we can do in Skellefteå.
For a long time, Västerbotten has had Umeå as the big city with 130,000 inhabitants and with a big, strong university and also the university hospital. And they also have industry. But Skellefteå haven't been growing for some decades. But with this investment of Northvolt and the new factory, this will be a huge opportunity for Skellefteå to become a real big city and growing and with attracting young people especially. And you can already see that.
Maybe some support here.
The region's main challenge will be skill supply, to see that we have enough people with the right skills that can take on the jobs that are created in the factory or in Northvolt, but also in the surrounding society. We will need new teachers, nurses, we will need a lot of people working in different sectors of the economy. It's very important that the society, the government works very closely to the private companies to be able to make this transformation that we need to do in the society. And we have to learn from each other how to do it in a fast way, because we can't wait. And Northvolt is really a very good example of a company that worked in a different way to get their permissions regarding to environment. So they have already set the standards for new companies that this is how you do it if you need to do it in an environmental sustainable way to get a permission. And I think in the future it will be really hard for companies that don't do it as Northvolt to be able to get a permission to establish in a country like Sweden and hopefully in all Europe.
Okay. What did you propose? So now we have 64.
So it depends on the number. You can, like, if it's okay for you to move the one from upstream, then you can do that.
I think there is a way where if we just act fast enough and with strong determination, that we can maintain and we can continue building a really nice society that is not in contrast with the climate, but that is in harmony, that is providing a sustainable way of living. It's just in a different way. Hopefully people have looked at us and see that it's possible. Hopefully people have looked at us and see if they can do it, why couldn't I do it, to give certain courage. Hopefully we've also set aspirations when it comes to, don't just think local labor market. If you want to build a world-class company, bring in the talent from wherever they are. When you get into that mindset and then you look at a lot of traditional industries, suddenly you see a whole bunch of opportunities also to do things there in the same way. It do require investments. It do require a certain push to do these investments. But when you put on these glasses, you can, and you look at industry from industry, you can see a whole bunch of opportunities, and that is something really exciting. Down the road, I can see, I can see myself looking out at the fully built out Skellefteå, you know, with a lot of more grey hair on my head, but also recognizing a very smooth running manufacturing. But it's going to be some blood and sweat to get to that point.